The American College Testing, or ACT for short, is an entrance examination used for the admission to a university and can also be used to apply for scholarships and is one of the most important tests you will ever take. The ACT is a 3 to 4 hour test that has questions over the following subjects: English, mathematics, reading, science, and writing, which is optional. The maximum score you can get after taking the test is a 36. However, the average student scores around a 21. The ACT is taken multiple times a year by around 2 million students all over the country. Within the last couple of years, the average score for students on the test has been declining, and less students are winding up at their dream college or do not get accepted for the scholarship they need. This is because the ACT is so highly weighted that compared to grades in the high school and GPA, that many intelligent students are not going to the schools they should be. This problem should be addressed, and eventually, the ACT should not have a higher weight for acceptance to college than a student's GPA. Most colleges and universities do require students to take the ACT still. However, many are now giving the opportunity for the test to be optional. This is a good start in the direction where we need to be as an educated country. The reasoning behind some people's beliefs on making this test optional is because the test is much different from a daily test in high school. With this being said, many students do not know how to study for the ACT and cannot get over the frightening fact that it is multiple questions within a specific time frame and can take only 1 minute per question. This alone can stress students out. However, do not count out the fact that it is a 3-hour test, while a student's average attention span is 10 to 20 minutes long. This goes to show that any student is pushing their brain, and by the end of the ACT, their mind will feel numb, causing the last test they take to be the lowest score. A professor from Temple University decided to take the ACT test after being a college English professor for 15 years. After taking the test, he stated, "While a few of the math questions were relatively straightforward, most of them were so convoluted that they seemed intended to trick me rather than to test my knowledge of arithmetic, algebra, or geometry." McGrath Conical illustration by Bob. He said later that the English section did as well. He then stated, "Some questions were written so awkwardly, while they were grammatically correct. I wanted to take a red pen to them and demand they be rewritten." If these questions tripped up a college professor of 15 years, then these questions will definitely make 15 to 18-year-olds confused as well. As stated before, the sections on the ACT are timed, and each section has a different amount of questions and a different amount of time. However, what remains the same is that you have roughly 1 minute to choose an answer and go with it. This is a difficult procedure to a test to begin with, but add in the fact that the ACT is a test that almost requires the process of trial and error. There is no way for an average student to be able to complete the questions in that said time frame and get them correct. Either the questions need to be more straightforward and actually test on the student's knowledge, not how well they can decipher a question, or the time allowed needs to be greater. Both of these solutions do not solve every issue the ACT has. However, it is a step in the right direction. The ACT is considered a standardized test. These types of tests are known for reliability. However, James Popham, a professor at UCLA, stated, "Standard errors of measurement, which differ from test to test, are similar to plus or minus margins of error accompanying most opinion polls." To put it simply, the standard error of measurement determines the range of possible accurate scores on a given area or sub-area of the test. This means that if the student took the test again, he or she could just as easily could have earned a different score in this range. The ACT is not reliable because of how many different versions there are. Because of this, a student decides to take 1 to 3 times, there's a low change of that student's raising their score in every subject every time. If one score goes up, another could go down. therefore making the composite score of their ACT the same. This almost eliminates the opportunity for growth unless that student is solely focused on this examination for the entire year leading up to taking it. Since the ACT determines the student's future, you would think that it would test that student's long-term progress. The time and effort someone has put into homework, tests, quizzes, projects, and more, and what knowledge they attain from them. However, the ACT provides a single score from one day that measures the student's achievement for that particular test. GPAs are what colleges should be looking for, extracurricular activities, hard work. But instead, colleges and universities mainly focus on a student's achievement on a single test, a test that is confusing, difficult, and different than any other they've ever taken before. Another part of the ACT that is ineffective is that all students are taught differently. Taking a test is the same for each student. When they are all not taught the same thing, this can cause diversity and unfairness when scoring. Different high schools teach different things. What one student might know, another may not. And how is the ACT supposed to show that student's knowledge and prove whether he or she is ready for college if they have not learned what is being asked? This causes confusion and often unfairness to each student just because of the high school they go to. Many people believe that if teachers help their students prepare for the ACT, then it will help them get a higher score. However, Elaine Allensworth, a co-director at the Conservatorium and lead author of From High School to the Future, ACT Preparation, Too Much, Too Little, stated, "Students are training for the ACT and a last-minute sprint focused on test practice, when the ACT requires years of hard work developing college-level skills." This statement shows that the ACT takes years of preparation for the average student to do well. By only having a class a couple times during a student's junior year is not going to help them raise their score. Students do not connect grades and study habits to exam scores when they are feeling rushed or pushed to study. They instead rush this process and overfill their brain, causing them exhaustion and ultimately not being able to remember what they have studied. ACT tests are not accurate, especially when it comes to helping students figure out what career they want to go in. A lot of the time, when students take the ACT, they will score higher in a certain subject than in others. This may cause students believe that they should go into a career or major in something that they otherwise would not have. For example, Christopher Harper, a professor and co-director of the Multimedia Urban Reporting Lab in the Department of Journalism at the Temple University, said he had scored higher in math than English and reading, therefore causing him to take business classes, calculus, and accounting classes his first semester of college. However, he quickly realized that even though he had performed well in these classes, he was not engaged in what he was learning. Because of his ACT score, Harper had gone into a major that he did not enjoy or feel desired to be in. On the other hand, he found himself enjoying and wanting to learn about journalism and English literature, which according to his scores were his weakest subjects. This shows that even a score on a test may show you are better at a subject. That does not mean you should base your college future on that score. In conclusion, the ACT is an entrance exam that all students in high school need to take if their plan is to go to college. Many students struggle with this test because of its high intensity, time frame, and difficult questions. All of these factors prohibit students from doing as well as they could. ACT should not be discontinued. However, they should either be changed to accommodate a better means of testing students or should have less weight on college admissions and scholarship applications. Thank you.